So Paul built these shelves. At my baby shower, I had people bring books and sign the books. So all these are from his aunts and uncles and friends.
Grandmas and grandpas. Yep.
But this was gonna be these Christmas pajamas. He was born around Thanksgiving. So we have his Thanksgiving outfits. Paul has a matching
Christmas sweater.
Christmas sweater. When he was born, they did heads for us.
Other types of grief, whether you lose a parent or a sibling or a friend, it's more commonly talked about in society. There's community that can be found in those arenas. Something happens when a baby dies, everyone gets really uncomfortable.
Fortunately, I don't think really any of our close friends or family have encountered child loss, so as supportive as they were, there was kind of something missing.
Brian and I really needed to find something that our family and friends couldn't quite give for us. Yes, they were supporting us beautifully, but they didn't know how to help us with that grief aspect of how we were grieving differently.
It was something that Jesse and I really learned after our own loss, that there wasn't a lot of space to process how grief impacts a relationship.
There are very few options to offer for couples who need something like this, who deserve something like this, a space that can really hold the magnitude of their experience, of their grief. This is the first.
Due to 9 years of infertility, we decided to grow our family through adoption, and in 2016 we were able to bring home our baby boy at the time, Deacon, and almost 3 years later we had the shock of our lives and ended up pregnant with Sawyer.
It was just a whole other dynamic that we didn't expect, caught off guard, and so we got to sit in it very short period of time before his diagnosis.
At about 17 weeks, it was confirmed that Sawyer had trisomy 13.
I loved being pregnant. The pregnancy went really, really well the first half. My water broke unexpectedly in the middle of the night, and I knew right away that was not good because I was only 20 weeks pregnant.
38 weeks, I started having some high blood pressures. And my doctor was like, let's just induce you. Got to 10 centimeters dilated, pushed, and on the second push they said, stop pushing. His heart rate went down. And the room went from just my mom, Paul, and I, and a nurse or two to 30 people in like 20 seconds.
We got admitted into a labor and delivery room, and hours later, Violet was stillborn.
And as they're stitching me up, they're saying we're working on the baby. About 15, 20 minutes later, they came in and all the doctors were crying and they were like, we don't know what happened.
And I just broke down, I just lost it.
We had anticipatory grief with his diagnosis, and even so, it ripped me open. I found very quickly there was little community who understood. From there, I really decided to kind of shift my focus as a therapist to perinatal mental health. When I envision taking care of couples who've been through a trauma like this, I don't want to put them in a community center with Trader Joe's snacks. They deserve the red carpet.
Walking into Relentless was very calming, actually.
We hosted at Fourth Try Sanctuary. It is a postpartum center.
It's a very intentional, from top to bottom, cultivated experience.
We have an opening circle that lasts for about 45 minutes. It's not a traditional trauma dump. We do share parts of our story because that's important, right? To give voice to what you've experienced, what your partner's experienced, and your child.
You know, I felt like someone who was pregnant and then wasn't pregnant. And so being in a room with other people who have lost children, you look at all of those people as parents who have lost a child. For me, I just walked out of Relentless really feeling like a parent, like a mom. Like that was the first time a group had seen me as that.
Relentless is the space where nobody gives you dead baby face. I mean, I say that all the time to clients, just as bluntly as that. Because if I say that to someone who's had perinatal loss, they know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like the head tilt and they're like, people are gonna understand you. People are saying your child's name. They're not tripping over their words. They're not questioning whether they should bring it up or not. They wanna see pictures. I mean, it's so different from the outside world.
Our hope for Relentless is to create a space that removes the taboo of losing an infant.
There's a few minutes of just getting comfortable, getting situated in the space, and then honestly the first impactful thing that we do is we have lunch together.
And that was a really beautiful way to relate to these strangers essentially in this really human way.
We have partnered with Jen, who tries to feel into the energy of the little glimpses of everyone's story that I give her, and she's really intentional about the food. We're getting to know each other, so when we leave lunch, we can go and do the group work together. The group work component changes every time, but basically they can expect to do some separate work from each other, and then we'll bring them back together. Oftentimes in a coupleship, a partnership, you are both changed by this experience, and yet you don't know how to bring it up to the other person.
How do you actually process your own grief? How do you actually become a true support and not just a facade of placating deep emotional trauma that has to be dealt with?
I think it gave us just a really good baseline to really communicate with each other, with one another, and to check in with one another.
I remember Paul said something along the lines of, even when I'm not talking about Teddy, I'm thinking about him. And that was, the first time that he had said that, and it's helpful for me to know that because sometimes I thought, am I the only person carrying this?
At the end, we had a session of breath work, which was really, really powerful.
I'm deeply grateful to be able to facilitate this somatic experience for these couples because breathwork is the thing that completely changed my healing process and really allowed me to release the very deep grief that was being held in my body after my own loss.
I really enjoy breathwork because it's nonverbal. Breathwork allows you to kind of access your body, your emotions, your thoughts in a different way, and it's very impactful.
There's no judgment, there's no pressure. It's just a space for anyone to grieve, really.
My hope for the Relentless community is that they form bonds with each other where they're still checking in.
When you go through loss like that, it does feel really isolating and alone, but Relentless really helps break that barrier.
There are so many things that Paul and I are feeling on a day-to-day basis that we don't always feel comfortable sharing with our friends who don't have kids or haven't experienced loss. And having a community where you can call someone or text them has just been so helpful. If there are other people who are feeling what you're feeling and they're there when you're ready, just show up. It's like going to the gym. The hardest part is getting in the car to go to the gym.
There are so many barriers to healing from something like this. We don't want finances to be another one.
It takes an incredible amount of effort, and it's not cheap to put something together like Relentless. And it's also incredibly important that this is provided at no cost to families. They shouldn't have to think about an additional cost when they're thinking about their mental health and they're thinking about their healing.
We can't do it without partnerships. We need funds to keep creating these events, to keep creating these intensives, to keep creating these tools and resources for these couples.
Most certainly you know someone who's dealt with perinatal infant loss, and you wished you had the resources or tools to help them and to meet them in what is most likely the worst and darkest moment of their life. Donating to Relentless is the way that you can give them that tool, is the way that you can do the most pointed, calculated, intentional, active care for these people.
When you give them that moment to talk about it, it helps concretize their child in the present, and that is the best gift you could give anyone, is to keep their child present.
We had one of the dads stop by our house a couple months ago, and he said, "Can I see Teddy's room?" No one asks us to see his room. I think they think it would be too painful for us, but really, like, we want to show people that, but we don't get asked that. So that was just like such a kind moment that we needed, and it was all because we met them through Relentless.